Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. I was frustrated with how long this all was taking. I'm having a little bit of internet problems this morning. I don't know how long I'll be able to do this. Um, I like interesting topics, and this seems like a good one. Carolyn R. This is a strange topic. And the reason I bring this up, there's been so much stuff happening in Pitchfork Nation, okay? Um, I have a link in the description describing all about the L. Carrington um, Chronicles, because L. Carrington was somebody that myself and a bunch of other people who are still friends to this day, we're all real life friends now, and we were all combined and connected by L. Carrington, whose real name was Lori Ann Dennick. She was a plagiarist, a pretty bad one. And it was crazy what she would plagiarize and what she would write. And we all met because of her, but now we're all real life good friends. We're talking, send each other birthday presents and Christmas and sort of thing. Okay, so what was interesting about Elaine Carrington is that she would steal stuff from people. She would lie, cheat, she would steal stuff, she would plagiarize, she would do everything that was awful you could imagine online. And then she would turn around and claim she was being bullied. That was one of the hostess. I can't even believe what I'm hearing. She came to my attention because she plagiarized something I'd written and had something I'd written pop up in one of her pornography books. And I went after her. She also took some pictures off of my personal Facebook account, mostly of things like the one that really pops to mind was I had received a White House Christmas card from the Obamas because I'd been involved with the whole Affordable Care Act in the beginning when we were trying to gather information about what was really needed. So she was stealing all these things and pretending they were her own. So I met this group of like-minded ladies that were watching her because she'd been stealing our stuff for years and just involved in the craziest of the crazy. So I wanted to go over that a little bit because what have we seen in the anti-Katie Joy community? We have Katie Joy is doing everything short of well, she's actually doing plagiarism and getting away with it in various things. So Ellen Carrington is now dead. I'm almost sorry she is because we watched her for years. It was I can't stand a thief either, Nancy. It was almost comical, but she found her groove finally and stopped plagiarizing from anybody and started writing romance wrestling novels. I guess there is a kink out there for every person in this world. There is a weird little kink. And she sure had them, writing wrestling romance novels. Hey, so it was a convoluted tale that took place over 10 years. We were tracking this woman and some of her crazier behavior. At one point, she even had an organization that would deal with online bullying get after all of us because we were telling her to stop plagiarizing from us and going after her for stealing photos and various things. Wrestling romance. Yes, she was obsessed with wrestling, and that was another bit of plagiarizing. She used to write columns for various wrestling online portals under the name The Wrestling Babe. And it turned out she wasn't writing them. She was plagiarizing columns by other people. And every time that she was confronted that she was doing this crap, the song became the same. She would threaten suicide each and every time, unaliving herself, I should say, because I know that YouTube hates that word, unaliving herself. And she would also throw crap like, well, I'm disabled and I'm living on SSI in in apartments for poverty-ridden people. What do you expect me to do? So she would try to play on our sympathies. And it was funny because the more people started doing research on her, the weirder stuff came out. We found she had a number of prostitution links. She was on all these. Uh, because yeah, oh, so much better. So anyway, she had a bunch of prostitution links, and it was so funny because she, like I said, she did some crazy stuff. But at one of the prostitution links, a guy had, okay, Nancy, had done an interview, had done a review, and had said, I took one for the team, and described all that went on. And I was just like this. So this was, oh, spell check does that to all of us, I think. So this was really pretty strange, and it was such a convoluted thing. She had so many profiles, and she had so many different things she was doing in so many different communities where she was sewing all kinds of crap and stealing stuff left and right and recycling crazy stories. And people would sometimes fall for it. And then we would get emails from Sister Melody Elephant at the No Online Harassment. It says, look, we're not harassing her. We want her to take what she's stolen out of her books and out of her off her website, all of that. We want her to stop plagiarizing. But like I said, as the more we dug, the stranger it got. It got so strange that somebody put together the L.N. Carrington book site, and we just downloaded everything there. And I'm almost wondering with some of the ones in our community with Dear Catherine, and not just Dear Catherine, but some of the ones that are acting really poorly. I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a better solution just to expose what they've done, like we had to do with Ellen Carrington, in a not, oh, your chin is awful way, but as a factual way, said, yeah, she plagiarized XYZ. She did this, she did that, rather than actually the constant harassment I've seen. Now, I did notice today she slipped on the grifties. I've been voting, but I also wanted to point out that one of the people in the group that is splintered off from um, the anti-KJ community, one of the guys has bragged that he's put together bots, and he can't stand Steve McRae. He says he's put together a bot to vote Steve up, and that's why Steve is at number one, and why Molly Golightly is at number two, and KJ is number three. So it's always very confusing. I don't really like bullying anybody, and again, you don't want people to be able to take advantage of you and plagiarize you either. Um, with Ellen Carrington, she just basically faded away. She finally quit plagiarizing from any of us. She took herself off into the wrestling world and became a columnist, and then plagiarized, and then started writing romance novels and pornographic books. Her pornographic books are all over Amazon, and I'm going to give you an example of what her level of writing was like when she wasn't plagiarizing. She kept talking about milky white ropes of cum and tangy bungholes, and just things that I would just be reading her writing, going, oh, make it stop. There are some people that until they find their weird little niche, they're going to horrify everybody. And poor Ellen was one of them. She was one of them. And I don't know what that means for our community. I do know that yesterday, Erin did a live stream. She was very upset. People were trying to claim various things about a live stream she did with Steve McRae, which I could have told her they were going to do that. A lot of people do that nonsense. They will take one little thing that you said, they'll take it completely out of context. They will twist it and try to throw it back at you in order to upset you. So those kinds of people, I just I was telling her yesterday, and I'm telling you guys again today, and I'm telling it to myself, and I'll explain why I'm telling that to myself. You breathe in, you breathe on, breathe in, breathe out, move on. What do I mean by that? Just know what the intent is when they're throwing this crap at you. The intent is to try to push you off your mojo and to push you off what you're doing and make you as miserable as I guess they might feel, or as miserable as they want you to feel. That is why, for me, I've done crap like when Larry Solomon of Biblical Gender Roles called me that crazy feminist writer. I embrace that because it's like, yeah, right, that's what I am. I'm that crazy feminist writer. So some of that stuff, when they fling it at you, it's really best just to hit that ball right back at them and do something comical and funny and just have a ton of fun with it. And I know that, the other day I was on here and I was really very negative and bummed out. I get like that with the asthma. When the asthma is really bad, I get really nuts. And that's when I will do crap like try to hit somebody over the head with, with a pot roast, with a huge pot roast that I'm going to cook today. So there is that. Like I said, I know I'm not innocent of some of this stuff, but I'm attempting not to do anything that can be thought of as bullying anymore. Will I plan to keep having fun with this crap? Oh, hell yeah. I'm dealing with a real life situation in real life in such a way here that sometimes it's making me want to do the head desk thing. Now, I've shared before about the guy my husband goes to church with, Davy, and how much trouble he has caused us. Yesterday, he tried to do something that all I can say, I must either really terrify him right now or have just pushed a hate boner on him, or he has a hate boner for me because I chewed him out the day that he was trying to insist that we pay for that elderly lady's surgery because he was trying to, well, thanks, Nancy. I've always tried not to, but I think I'm going to make more of an effort, even still go farther. So he called up that day and was saying, get here now, now. You got to have X amount of dollars cash now. I was like, stop pressuring me. And I yelled at him like 5 or 6 times. My husband got to witness this. And on the way back, when I drove him to pick up his motorcycle, I read him the riot act. I told him off, including don't mouth your evangelical platitudes at me because I know the BS behind that. I told him, the ass, gas, grass situation. If you ride in our car, you're going to pay. And while I wouldn't mind grass or gas, I don't want ass. And I just let him have it for using us so much of the time. Boundaries look like, where are they? What's appropriate? What's inappropriate with Dave? Because Davey he stepped over several boundaries with us, first with the car when it broke down, and then later with this whole thing with our friend that broke her hip. And I got back from going to see our friend in Liberia and getting her checked in the hospital. I got back, and Davey had posted on his Facebook this big long thing, and the end of it said, "You can't go to heaven if you're arguing with me." It actually said that on there. And I was really tempted to go all in, go hard and bully him, but I just kept my peace. On Monday, we had to run him back to Liberia to go to the doctors because we had promised this well before all that went down with the friend who ended up in the hospital. So we stand by our word. We said we're going to do something, we do it. We brought him. He would not speak to me, would not look me in the eye. Yesterday, he number one fan. That's what we're trying to do now. Now, for him to ask him to give him a ride to church when it's raining, okay, I can kind of see that because he rides a moped. And I think that's going to be acceptable. But anything more than that is no more. So we were talking about that pretty strong the last couple of days. And yesterday he approached Jim and said, okay, I'll pony up for gas if you run me to Liberia, but you cannot bring Suzanne. It was rude of him to assume you and your husband were able to pop up with the cash. It really was. And that's why I was trying to get through his head that he can't be spending our money for us. He can't make choices for us. He should not be doing any of that. Now, Dave is your standard evangelical Christian. He really is. And he has these ideas about women and all of that. Jim came home from that yesterday and said, "Boy, you must have really have terrified him." And I said, "Why do you say that?" And he says, "Because he doesn't want you in the car anymore when I'm driving into Liberia." And I said, "He doesn't get to determine that. That's not his thing. He can take the bus." And we talked about that too, because when we first got here, it took us 5 months after we moved to Costa Rica to get our car here. And as you talk to other Americans, you find out that's actually not a real bad length of time. That's about average. It can take anywhere from like 4 months to 7 or 8 to get your car here, depending upon what shipping service you're using, what ports they're going through, how long it takes on the boat, all sorts of different factors. And it just took that long. I had to wait until they had a ship coming this way where they had room for my car. So you know what we did when we first moved to Costa Rica? We took colectivos, which are the local taxis that are really cheap, pennies on the dollar. Sometimes if we couldn't get a collectivo, we would take an official taxi, still pretty cheap. And the cheapest of all is the bus services. It is expensive to own a car here, so very few people actually do. And they navigate just fine by bus. Like I said, the first 5 months we lived here, we took the bus, we took collectivos, we took taxis. From here, I would take the bus into the beach, and it was like 40 cents. 40 cents. So I was pointing out to Jim, he should take the bus to Liberia. It's not undoable. There are buses that go all the time to Liberia. It's an hour ride. It's inexpensive. And that way he could go when he wants to go, visit the places he wants to visit, and then come back. So that is gonna be, I think, gonna say, take it or leave it. It's my car too. And if I decide to ride with them, I'm going to ride with them. The only shopping there is in this entire area is in Liberia. So, buddy, you better believe that if the car is rolling, I'm going to be in it going to Liberia if the car is going to Liberia. So, for me, that's my real life challenge because he is attempting with platitudes and evangelical assumptions of husbands controlling wives and women as lesser beasts to put me in my little box. And that is never going to work with me. I'm just not like that at all. And he's going to have to get over it. I'll be civil to him in the car. If he pays his gas, if he rides again for free, that's going to be it. We'll never deal with him again. I have zero desire to own a car in the Netherlands. Public transportation is too good here. Cheryl, awesome. When I lived in Germany, I used to take public transportation all the time. I had a car, but sometimes it was just easier to hop on the bus and go on into downtown, particularly if it's bad weather. If you had to go into work and it was snowing, and I'd take the bus in every single time. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take my car in. I would take the bus and walk. Oh, and here comes Jim with Dave now. He drove him to the church and they're back, and it's pouring down raining. Dave has to climb on his scooter and take his silly, happy ass away. So there is that. So a car isn't really necessary here either. You can get along just fine without one. I did it for a long time. Does the car make it easier? Yeah, because here it's more, we're in a very rural area here. And having a car a little more important here than where we were living before. We were living in Copeta Delta, which is about an hour south of San Jose. It was in the Central Valley. Mass transit was happening there too, and we used it a lot. I would go in to shop in Santa Maria, I think it was the town, and then take the taxi back. Sometimes if I was adventurous, I'd go into San Ysidro, which was a little bit more of a ways, but San Ysidro was good because it was just a little bit different. I would need gas money in my hand before I stepped in my car. He has ridden in the car before, I am sure, and he hasn't. Yeah, exactly. I've ridden in the rain before. Yep, no melting. Nope. Sadly, evangelical men do not melt in the rain. I wish I did because I push them all into the rain. Hey, T King. So back to Lorianne. So Lorianne was like KJ and others, where she was just all drama all the time, all plagiarizing, all everything. And we could never get that woman to behave until it took the bulk of the internet saying, no, we were not bullying you. We just want you to behave yourself. And she finally got with it. So I have hopes that with the Catherine situation, the same thing is going to happen. I have a feeling that if enough things happen, our dear Catherine will start doing the same. Because what happens if you are pushed beyond the circle and there's no way to keep going the way you are? You have to change. And I did not begrudge Elaine Carrington her success with her wrestling romance books, even though I did read a few of them and I laughed. And I read some of her pornography things, and we would always laugh and say, those of us that are friends that have been tracking her for years, because she plagiarized all of us. One time we had to get together and we had somebody take a picture of all of us kneeling behind the trash dumpster because she had written this long pornography book about handing out the jobs that start with blow behind a dumpster. And I was thinking, I could not think of anything less sexy than that. I mean, I didn't see anything romantic about that, but her tales were entertaining, if nothing else. And I kind of miss that about her. She's no longer writing her stuff. And oh, and another thing that she used to do, and I think we're seeing it sometimes with KJ too. Okay. Is she would, I didn't mean to shout, I'm sorry. One of the things that she would do that just made us all laugh was she would interview herself. Oh, I hate to think what that would look like. Ellen Carrington would interview herself. And it was funny because she used the same names all the time in a lot of her books, a lot of her different writings online. Like she was interviewed by Greenlee something or other one day. And we were all laughing because the names are like straight out of soap operas she's using. And she kept interviewing herself over and over and over. And at one point, she claimed to be a great beauty queen. And she entered these online beauty contests where you buy the crown, you buy the sash, and you're a winner. And she was posting those and started calling herself an international model because she walked in a local fashion bug, a local fashion bug fashion show. So it was interesting to try and figure out, oh, hey, leaving work for a sick child. Grace Peter, I'm sorry about that. I know what that's like too. It was interesting to try to take her tale and then try to translate what it went to, what it really meant and what the reality was. She posted also a ton of naked pictures of herself online. Now, I'm not going to throw shame at her for being a larger woman. I'm not skinny myself. But the difference is I'm not about to have somebody show up and start taking naked pictures of me and posting them online. I don't want to inflict my various surgical scars on anybody except my husband. He has to look at them. He didn't have a choice. Everybody else, hell yeah, you got a choice. It's not happening. So the more I think about poor Anne, I'm reminded of Catherine, and not just Catherine, but some of those lately, Johnny Jane come latelys that have popped up in the anti-community who are coming up with some pretty preposterous claims of restraining orders and things. It's just like I'm looking at the history of this crap and going, this is just Ellen Carrington. It's just more successful than what Ellen Carrington was at what she did for so long. For a while, Ellen Carrington was in love with, what was that guy's name? Oh, an American Idol. He had curly hair and he was Greek. Margulis was his last name. She was obsessed with him. I mean, crazy obsessed for a while. And I'm talking like showing up and at the diner near his house and hanging out there and such. She claimed to be a publishing company. She started a publishing company at one point that went nowhere, of course. She had a quote modeling agency that she claimed that she started. She was obsessed for a while with Noah Wiley, I think is the actor's name. He was on ER, I think. I don't know, because wasn't anything I was keeping up with in those days because I was still in Fundy Town when all that was going on, and I had not found Ellen Carrington yet because I'd yet to discover she plagiarized from me. Oh, so good times, good times. I kind of almost miss tracking what the lovely goddess was doing. So I'm going to think about this. I've got to come up with different and better ways to handle some of these people that we're dealing with that are incredibly vile. I am still laughing over people saying that Steve is running a sex cult too. And I can assure you, there's no sex cult as far as I know. And I'm not a sister wife. I never have been. I never will. I don't share very easily or well. I don't share well. So there we go. Oh, so it's been interesting watching recently as Catherine has tried on different personalities and seeing where all of that was going. Yesterday in Nikki's live stream, I also dropped a little secretive piece of knowledge that I probably should not have, but it was one of those things I just became so heated over what was being said to and about her that I had to drop the bomb on that. Basically, what I said was I talked about all the people who were claiming that Steve owes him something and explanations. I said, has it not dawned on any of you that he might be testifying in some of the upcoming trials? So there's that. Steve may be testifying in these things coming up against KJ. One can only hope. And the reason I started thinking about bullying, besides the fact that Nikki was talking about it yesterday, and I started thinking about Ellen Carrington because something crossed my YouTube feed, my not YouTube feed, my Facebook feed that made me think about her. And I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, I know, somebody pulling up all the times that Todd Paulson has said nasty things to women his wife doesn't like. He said some nasty things to Tati Westbrook. I mean, to Jess Britt. I'm not a big fan of Jess Britt's, but I would not go on her channel and say anything about her forehead if I was Todd Paulson and I had that wife. And there were others. His wife, he was going in there and saying the most insulting things to all these creators about their appearance. And these are all people that never once commented on Katie's appearance. And that's another reason why I think we should never, ever go in on appearance. And that's why I'm not fat shaming Ellen Carrington, because I think that that's counterproductive when we do that stuff. These are just meat suits we're temporarily riding around in. Is it going to be what we're going to wear forever? Hell no. It is just what it is. What do I know? Okay, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and go. I thought that would be something fun to talk about was Ellen Carrington. I have a link in the description to the Ellen Carrington book site that was put together by a dear friend of mine with information that a lot of us had pulled up, including the including the prostitution links. To me, that was just hysterical. But I guess, hey, $50 is $50. Okay, I'll see you guys later, and hopefully, hopefully we won't see anything else going on this week with our friend.